Hello, welcome to the Saber Podcast.
I'm Reed.
I'm Lily.
And today we talked with Dr. Satizabal about some really interesting studies.
It was really cool. She's with the new Biggs Institute, which obviously they're doing a ton of new neuro-related research there, so we had to talk to somebody there to see what's going on.
Yeah, and there's a lot of cool stuff with biomarkers and different patient populations, so I think you're really going to enjoy this podcast.
Yeah. If you haven't already, and we'll plug this at the end of the episode, make sure to subscribe so you catch more of our future episodes talking to cool researchers. But in the meantime, we'll just kind of get into it. The conversation was between me and Isabel, or Isabel and I, between me and Isabel and me. That's what it is. Okay. The conversation was between Isabel and me, and we talked to Dr. Claudia Satizabal, who's an associate professor in the Department of Population Health Sciences at UT Health San Antonio. She leads the Population Neuroscience Core at the Glenn Biggs Institute for Alzheimer's and Neurodegenerative Diseases. She's a PI on several grants, including investigation of gut microbiome signatures and biomarkers as related to dementia, cerebrovascular, and cardiovascular diseases. And she's also, and this is huge because this is the majority of what we talked about, or at least a lot of things connected to this. She's also the PI leading the revived San Antonio Heart and Mind study, which investigates some of the factors underlying the disproportional burden of dementia and Alzheimer's disease among Mexican Americans.
And now she's going to talk a little bit about her pathway to UTESCA, because she has gone all over the globe. It's crazy.
A ton of places. It's really cool. All right. We would love to hear a brief intro to your life and work. What brought you to UTSA maybe, and how your interest in role and research has changed throughout your career.
Wow, yeah, that is a very nice question, because I've been through several places before arriving here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm from Colombia, and when I was in high school, I was super interested in genetics. I was really fascinated, and I asked my chemistry teacher, like, where can I go? How can I study genetics? And at the time, there was no such program in my home country. So he suggested looking into microbiology, which was not too far from genetics. So I was like, okay, no, that sounds really cool. And I enrolled in university in Colombia to study microbiology, but I was always very interested in also neuroscience. So I did I don't know how it's called here, a minor in neurobiology. And I was, going the route of molecular biology in my last semester, but they canceled that class. I had to rush to enroll in something else to complete my credits. And there was this class called epidemiology, Introduction to Epidemiology. And I was like, what is this? I guess just gonna take this class. And it was so cool. I fell in love with epidemiology. I had a great relationship with my teacher, and the next semester I was TA for that class, and did my thesis with her, looking at the prevalence of multiple sclerosis in Bogota, Colombia. And so that was really fascinating. And I just started working in several different research projects with clinicians in the space of allergy, asthma, cardiovascular disease, neurology, kind of doing some work on epidemiology. And then I decided to go that route. And I got a scholarship actually to study epidemiology, to do my master's in the Netherlands, in a city called Utrecht, which is 20 minutes train away from Amsterdam. And these were 2 years that were incredible. I had so much fun, really learning from excellent teachers, but I was missing, the neuro part. So I was looking, and I always liked France, and I love French. And so I was like, I'm just going to go to France. And I applied for this program in neuroepidemiology to look at different factors related to brain health and dementia. And I was in. And so I moved to Paris to do my PhD. I had a hard time with French at the beginning because, what you learn in class is very different once you're exposed to actually talking in the street. Well, it was great. And, even the boulanger corrected me when I would buy some bread, some baguette. So it was a good learning experience.
Did you know a lot of French before you decided to move, or?
Took some classes, because I always liked, but French are very strict with pronunciation. So I spent 4 years learning also a lot of things. It was a great experience. And then when the time came to start thinking about what am I going to do, I'm going to stay here, I'm going to go. It's like, okay, I want to do a postdoc. Typically, it has to be done in a place completely different. So a colleague of mine knew Dr. Seshadri, who is the director of the Biggs Institute. And there was this conference in Reykjavik in Iceland. And she was like, well, do you want to meet with her there? And I'm like, oh, absolutely. This sounds like a really great opportunity. So, so I flew in there. My bag got lost. So I didn't.
Oh my gosh.
Just dress up the same to meet with Dr. Seshadri. She was so gracious. We went over breakfast. We really established a great connection. And things kind of, moved forward. And I ended up in Boston doing a postdoc with the Framingham Heart Study, which at the time, Dr. Seshadri still leads the neurology core of the Framingham Heart Study. And completely different environment, but also super fun. Boston is amazing. I met so many friends and really great colleagues. That was a great experience. I spent 5 years there. And then the opportunity came, to come here to San Antonio. And we had a good discussion with Dr. Seshadri. And I thought coming here was a great opportunity because I wanted to do something else. Being here also meant that I could work with other populations. I'm very interested in the disparities and how can we improve the health of everyone, especially those at disadvantage. So I just said yes, and here I am.
That's awesome. When you were having that discussion about joining the Biggs and being here in San Antonio, was the heart and mind study like on the table back then, or was it something that you were proposing, or like what, I guess, specifically attracted you to doing work here?
It was nothing specific about the heart study, but the idea of being able to work with other populations. And the heart study was in there. It was just something that was on the table perhaps, but not really definite, like we're going to do this.
Okay.
When I interviewed here, I met with Dr. Helen Hasuda. I don't know if you've met her. She's amazing. She was the PI of the San Antonio longitudinal study on aging, which was a study derived from the heart study. That study focused on disability and only included participants who were 65 years and older from the original cohort. So I had a great discussion with her. She was also part of the scientist team of the heart study initially. And that conversation really solidified my decision, knowing that she worked with that cohort and the opportunities to set up something similar.
Yeah. And that sounds like you guys all found that you had a shared passion for this type of work.
That's right. Yes. Dr. Hasuda focused is more on frailty, not so much on dementia, brain aging per se. But that was just a great opportunity.
Yeah.
Now, they talked a lot about the older study, but I definitely wanted to hear more about that original study that we had mentioned even in a previous podcast episode. And so I think Isabel had a really great question that kind of showed the differences and how recruiting for this new study went.
So if you would, as we mentioned before, like in a former episode, we interviewed Dr. Rao. We talked a little bit about the San Antonio Heart and Mind study. Can you go into a little bit more about the actual like details of the study and what you're working on right now?
Absolutely. So the San Antonio Heart Study was initiated in 1979, and it was a really great study from the epidemiological standpoint because they enrolled people based on census tracts from three different socioeconomic status neighborhoods, both Mexican American and non-Hispanic white. So, there were 5 groups: high-income suburban neighborhoods, Mexican American and non-Hispanic white. The same for middle-income transitional neighborhoods. And for the barrio low income, they sampled only Mexican American because there were not enough European American at that time. And so that provides really a great group to study socioeconomic differences and how risk factors affect different groups. Sometimes you just make these comparisons that are apples to oranges, and it's important to contextualize and understand what you're comparing.
Yeah.
So this really allows us to level those comparisons and understand better what are really the factors contributing to, in that case, cardiovascular disease and diabetes. That study had a baseline and a follow-up. And initially, it enrolled 50,158 participants. So it's a pretty large study. And they collected a wealth of information. It was such a great study. The focus was on diabetes, and they contributed a lot to the understanding on how insulin impacts diabetes and other cardiovascular risk factors, mortality, and the differences between Mexican American, non-Hispanic white, but also women and men. And so that information is there. At the time, the participants were 25 to 64, so really capturing midlife, which is great for the purposes of the San Antonio Heart and Mind Study, or SAMS. So as I said later, Dr. Jesus initiated San Antonio Longitudinal Study on Aging, or SALSA, to study the path to disability, and those participants had a baseline and then 3 follow-ups. So now enter SAMS. So we established the study in 2022-23.
Yeah, it was like it was almost exactly 2 years ago, it sounds like.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we've been trying to study, well, let me just reframe it. So we have been working with data that was collected already.
Yes.
Focused on brain aging and cognitive function. And we also went back to do a pilot study. We wanted to assess the likelihood of participants coming back for this new study that was going to be focused on aging and dementia. So we reached out to a few participants, 100 in total. We tried to have about 20 per group of those neighborhood ethnic groups that I mentioned earlier, and ask them a series of questions regarding: would you like to come back? What do you think about providing blood, maybe for genetic analysis? Would you like to do a brain MRI? How about a PET? What do you think about lumbar puncture? Do you use devices to connect to the internet? Things like that, to get a sense of participation rate, and also proportion of people going to do certain assessments. So from that, actually, we estimated that about 70-75% of participants would agree to participate, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was very similar to the response rate of the original study of other well-known epidemiological studies. And so that was the base for the grant. And so we included that in the grant, and we were very happy with the results. And right now we are, let me see, like 1 year and a half, and we have enrolled 170 participants.
Wow.
So we continue, and we have another 3 years of work to enroll the rest of the participants. So we estimate that at the time of the grant, about 3,000 were still alive. And from those, about 2,500 would be in the area of San Antonio. And based on some calculations, mortality projections, we estimated that we could recruit 1,200 participants. So that's the target.
Wow.
Great.
That's incredible too, that so many people seem willing to come back and be part of these studies. Like, it must have meant a lot to them to like contribute, I guess, in that way.
Yes, we find that some participants are very glad we found them. It's like, oh, you've been looking for me.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember the study, because at the time they did this glucose tolerance test where they had to blood draw. At the time it was called orange X or cold
Okay.
X. It was
Yeah.
very thick, sweet beverage, kind of like Coca-Cola. And so after that, you would take blood periodically to assess glucose, insulin, etc. So they do remember that, the way it tasted.
Yeah.
So they have a good memory, although sometimes they don't remember. It's like, well, did I? Oh,
Did I do that? Yeah.
It was really a long time ago.
Yeah.
And the participants are great, really. They're amazing. They contribute their time, their knowledge, and we're so grateful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some questions about like how you're kind of incorporating your interest in looking at dementia and like disparate rates, I'm assuming, between different groups. We can answer these one at a time. I was interested in like how you broach that as a new topic with participants, that like this is the thing that we're interested in studying, and then also including like this is why we want to take some of these markers, or like we're interested in doing a lumbar puncture or an MRI. In addition to like what exactly you're looking for, what markers or things that you're interested in investigating.
Yeah, so when we reach out to participants, we have a brochure where we, in very simple terms, tell them about the study. We thank them for their participation before. And we have a few bullet points where we explain what we want to do, what measurements we're going to be doing, like cognitive assessments to assess to measure memory and thinking, brain imaging, questionnaires, blood draw. And we emphasize that this information is really critical because the knowledge has a gap in terms of the information that is available is from other populations typically. So we don't have much about San Antonio or South Texas in terms of brain health and dementia. So we emphasize that this is really critical data that will help directly our community and future generations. And I think that that helps.
Yeah.
Because they feel they're making a contribution for their families, their friends.
It's like a community endeavor rather than like something kind of vague about, brain health, which is important, but sometimes it helps to tie those two together. Yeah.
Yes, and they may have questions about what is that I'm going to be doing.
Yeah.
So they talk to our research assistants and they explain very well in very simple terms all the assessments, the procedures. Of course, when they sign the informed consent, we go over everything in detail again. And they can say no to anything, really. We just, if you want just to go and give your blood, that's fine. We'll just respond to some questionnaires, that's okay.
Yeah.
So we're very flexible.
And then the other question I had just about what you're interested in looking at specifically.
So many things. First of all, I want to understand what is the status of cognitive function, because some people that test very low, but they're perfectly fine.
Mhm.
It might be a language thing,
Mhm.
because a lot of people here are bilingual. And that is so interesting. Some tests are made in a way that if a person changes language, they're no longer valid. And I think that's wrong.
Yeah.
People here in San Antonio just, this is kind of Spanglish. Just even here, just like throw a Spanish word here and there. So we're trying to assess language dominance, how that impacts cognitive health and cognitive tests. We want to understand also whether the new biomarkers that have been developed for Alzheimer's disease are a good biomarker for our community.
Yeah.
Because again, all the data that's out there is from Europe or from other, high-income communities, mostly non-Hispanic white. So we want to just first see, okay, do we find the same?
Yeah.
We have the gold standard that is PET imaging, and we want to see how that correlates with the new blood-based biomarkers. We also want to see what are the midlife risk factors that are most important for brain aging. We know that cardiovascular risk factors are so important, but we also want to understand when. Probably in midlife, they actually have a larger impact than closer to the onset of disease. But we want to be more specific, because then we can make accurate recommendations on, okay, in this kind of time frame, you really need to look at your diabetes or blood glucose levels. Please, here hypertension is really important, and kind of look at the timing. And tailor it to our community. Also, a lot of discoveries to be made. We have a different population, more diverse, from different socioeconomic neighborhoods, and that just means better representation of our population. And we have, blood, and we can test, look at agnostically at different biomarkers that maybe were not visible in other populations just because those are different. So we can make new discoveries too.
That's really cool.
So you have been all over, I guess not just the country, but like all over the world. I've worked in many different populations. What would you say is the biggest challenge you've faced in your research journey?
Well, it takes a little while to adapt to each new environment, like anything. So you just need to be kind to yourself and understand that there's going to be a learning curve of, adapting to completely new society and way to do things differently. Well, coming from, a low middle income country, it was hard for me. So to access, Ivy League universities or just other educational opportunities. So I had to work to get the scholarships. But I think that is, all over the world. And I've been very fortunate, actually, now that, make me reflect. I really found great people on my way who would guide me and support me and mentor me. And that is invaluable. I'm very lucky.
You call it luck or fortune, but it sounds like mentorship playing this big role is advice that might be good for students. Do you have any advice in terms of like how you go about finding those mentors and the people that'll support you?
Yes, I guess you have to be very intentional. Where do you want to get, and what people would be a good person. Sometimes we're afraid to reach out to professors or big names, but I would say go ahead. Like, you just need to give it a try for everything. Reaching out to people, looking for other opportunities. The key to me was to not stay stuck in my head, but just go ahead and try. Like just contact, like when I got my PhD in prep, I was like, I was just gonna contact people. This lab looks like they're doing something cool, and just kind of reach out.
Yeah.
For what you want.
Yeah.
Just go for it. Yeah.
Because the answer could be yes. How cool would that be?
Do you think that having worked in all of these different places across the world has impacted your mindset when it comes to research, like that passion for wanting to work with different communities and that sort of thing?
Yes, absolutely. And I try to keep a very broad network. We collaborate with people all around the world, and it's very important, enriching to hear ideas from other people, to collaborate in different projects, even do cross mentorship. That's something that I did when I was doing my postdoc. I was writing this paper where we looked at the genetic determinants of subcortical brain structures across different samples from all around the world. And I had to interact with people all over, and those experiences really helped me to learn how to communicate, to understand there's going to be differences, but also, understand that it's possible to communicate and to make a collaboration work. And that was it was tough, but very rewarding paper, because, I mean, I got data from, I don't know how many cohorts. In the end, it was like 40,000 people, participants, I guess. So, it just kind of gives you a very broad perspective, and that you bring with you to any project.
That was a fantastic conversation.
It was so cool talking to her. And you could see that she had a nice time, I guess, reflecting on what brought her to here. Yeah.
It was a really, really powerful kind of journey, and how it connected with her research.
And it's super exciting to see what she has in store, and to see kind of what will come out of this. We did end up asking at the end of this conversation if she had any further thoughts that this brought up, or anything else she wanted to add, and she kind of just had this to say.
No, I just, kind of reflecting on the path that brought me here. I'm happy to remember that, and I'm excited about what lies ahead in terms of all the research that we're doing here, new collaborations, the brain health building is opening. That's going to be amazing for participants and patients and their families. So I'm very excited about the direction the university is going in. So all the future opportunities we have to improve the health of everyone here. Awesome. I'm very passionate about it. That's basically why we do everything here, so that we can make contributions to people and their health.
Yeah, I just thought that was a really nice sentiment to end on, that we're all just kind of wanting to improve the health of people. That's what it's about. So it was a great way to end the conversation with Dr. Satizabal.
And thank you all for tuning into this episode of the Saber Podcast. We'd love to have you back again next week, so be sure to subscribe and leave us a review if you feel so inclined. If you have any questions, email us at saber.podcast.outreach@gmail.com, or find us on Instagram @saberpodcast. Until next time, I've been Reed.
I've been Lily.
And stay tuned for more inspiring research stories.